Okay. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Hello from Greece, from Crete, where the Hellenic Mediterranean University locates. I'm Kostas. I'm the coordinator of the virtual exchange project Impact, that envisions to promote the virtual exchanges and virtual internationalization. And as a part of our program, we are very happy, and within the framework of this COIL in research skills, to welcome all of you from Ukraine, from Argentina, from Africa, from Israel, from Greece, from all over the place, but also we are honored and very glad that we have the opportunity to invite also very distinguished speakers within the framework of this COIL. And the aim of this COIL is to promote or to give you an awareness of key words in order to promote and build your research skills, whatever this means. So today we are happy that we host a friend, but also an excellent scientist, Professor Ron Blonder, from the Weizmann Institute of Science in Israel. A few words about our today's speaker. Ron has received her PhD in 1999 from the Hebrew University of Jerusalem in chemistry. Now she's a professor at the Department of Science Teaching in Weizmann as a head of the chemistry unit. So she combines very well, a good profile in research, and now she has combined this research knowledge on how to teach, chemistry and more. She's an editor of the journal of the journal International Journal of Science Education, and her research interests include science education, honor education, chemistry education, teachers' professional development. Her work has received more than 4,600 citations, and her age index is 38. So today, Ron, with her own unique way, together, I heard with the assistance of her colleague in the international journal that she serves as an editor. She's going to present us tips on how to publish your research. So the floor is yours, Ron, and thank you very much for your availability and always your positive response to various, requests that we have from you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Kostas. It's nice to be among friends. And thank you for the invitation. And today I want to share with you some insights and tips about publishing your research in international research journals. And I started my journey in this area as a PhD student, where I had my research and I wrote my papers and submitted them and received the review and responded to the reviews. And then after several years, I became a reviewer myself. And after a lot of reviews, I became part of an editorial board of some journals. And then I became one of the editors. And for the last 2 or 3 years, I'm a co-editor-in-chief, as Kostas said, of the International Journal of Science Education that publishes research in science education. So my journey includes all the steps, and I understand all the perspectives and all the sides of publishing as an author, as a reviewer, as an editor, and then as a part of the leading team of the journal. So I will start my presentation, and during my presentation, feel free to ask questions. We will also have time at the end to ask if you have specific questions about publishing, or you have some inquiries that you want to ask and to receive my opinion or opinions of others. So I will share my screen and let's start. And just another thing to say before I start, that together with me, we have Inbal Salmon Chai, and she is my assistant in the journal, and she has also a lot of experience, and I invited her to this meeting. If she has things to add, she will do it, and there are specific things that are under her responsibility, so she will be able to highlight these aspects as well. So we have, strong force here in the meeting. So do you see my screen? Yeah, good. Let's see. So this is me. And I hope that during the talk, I will be able to share some tips to help you publish your research. Just a second, I want to see here something else in my other screen. Okay. So as Costa said, I'm a researcher in science education, and I'm co-editor-in-chief of the journal, but I'm not alone, I'm co. And my partner here is Professor Gail Jones. She co-edit the journal with me, and we work together to promote the journal. And this is the journal. I will not talk a lot about my journal because it's specific to science education research. And I know that here we have different discipline. Just a few words about the journal. We have a very international editorial board from different countries. And we publish really scholar research in science education for different age levels, for different science discipline, but we focus on research on education. But I think that the things that I'm going to talk about today are relevant no matter what discipline your research is. So I introduced the journal and we will touch the question of which journal should I select when I publish my research. Just a second. Mute.
Very good plan.
Okay. We will talk about the peer review process. It's important to understand it because it's really in the heart of the publishing process. How to prepare your manuscript for submission. We will see some common mistakes in the submission process. Discuss ethics. It's really important because when you take care about ethical aspects of your research and of your publication, you make your publication stronger. It's important to be aware of and to really take it seriously. We will hear some tips for success and also how to respond to reviewers and how to improve readership of your when you are already accepted, how to improve the readership of your papers. And then we will have some time for questions. I'm sorry. Okay. So I invite all of you. I didn't use my Mentimeter, Costas, okay? I said I don't want to switch between Mentimeter and so I invite all of you to write in the chat, why do you think we should publish? It's so difficult, takes a lot of time. Why should we publish? Write in the chat okay. Do not perish. Okay, what else? Why should we publish? To share information. Someone asked about ethics, we will be there. This was just an overview. To communicate your findings, publish, to share new knowledge, make your funding knowledgeable for all the community. Okay, so there are many good reasons that you wrote to speak to the world, to foster I'm sorry, to foster collaboration and colleagues. I love to write. Good, Maya, good for you. Yes. So all the answers are good and actually all of them are important. we publish to exchange ideas, okay? To build the knowledge of the field. We found something. We wanted what we found would be part of building the knowledge. Again, we want to disseminate the work on a global scale. And also to build reputation. It's not we shouldn't be ashamed to say it. We want to be famous. Okay, we did something. We want other people to know about us. And also, it's really important to remember that even if you did, groundbreaking research, if you didn't publish it, nobody knows. It's as if you didn't do the research. So publishing is essential part of scientific research. And I also would like to add something else, that to write the papers and to publish our work is part of our responsibility in the research community. Because it's not enough to finish the PhD and submit a thesis. If you didn't publish your results, something is missing in your academic pathway. Okay. So let's assume that you already did the research. I guess a lot of you did a lot of research. You have results. So you have an idea what you want to write about, okay? The idea is your research that you did already, and it's validated, and it's good, and you now want to publish it. What is the process? What are the steps in the process? You choose a journal. You read papers from this journal, and then you write first draft of your paper. You write a paper, but you are not sure it's good enough. You ask a good friend from, a colleague to read it and to give you some comments. You trust this one, and you correct, refine the draft, and you read it again, and you refine the draft. Then you check the guidelines of the journal, and you adapt the draft according to the journal guidelines. You read it again, you see that there are no mistakes, and you submit it to the journal. So a lot of steps from the idea, from the research. You did the research, you have the results, a lot of steps between having the results and submitting to the journals. And I colored in, highlight in blue, stages that are specific to each journal, okay? All the green parts are general, but the blue parts are specific to each journal, and we will come back to this during the talk. Okay, so before we continue, we submit the paper, the manuscript. It is still not a paper, it's a manuscript. We submit this manuscript to the journal, and now it should go through the review process. And what is the review process? So before we go into the review process, there are different ways of doing review. And I order them according to the blindness, okay? When you submit a paper, there are two different ways of submitting. It depends on the journal. Some of the journals ask you to submit an anonymous manuscript, because in these journals, you want to have blind review. It means that the reviewers will not be, will not know the identity of the authors, okay? In this way, we promote equality. There are a lot of publications about how manuscripts with authors with names of men receive usually higher ranks in the review process than names of women. But if we submit in a blind manner, it should not be part of the things that influence the reviewers. Or if someone that is really famous submit a paper and the reviewer sees the name, say, okay, this is a good researcher, so we will accept the paper. So the blind process is really support equal chance for everyone according to the quality of the manuscript. It doesn't matter who wrote it, men, women, very famous, someone in the start of the career, it doesn't matter. Everybody gets the same chance. But also there is another side that should be blind or not blind. It depends on the journal. And this side is who are the reviewers. Because usually, if the reviewer identity is not blind, the authors could be very, have some controversies. Because if I get a very nasty or bad comment about my paper, I will always hate this reviewer, okay? I don't know if you are familiar with the group, Facebook group, Reviewer 2 Must Be Stopped. Okay, so it's not, we will be there short enough in the lecture, but when you get comments from the reviewer about your great manuscript, you first think you don't really like the reviewer. So in order to avoid this issue, most of the journals also keep the identity of the reviewers blind. And this is double blind review. And most of the journals are double blind reviews. There are some journals that are in different status, open review, where the author's identity is known and the reviewer identity is known, and single blind review when only the reviewer is blind, and so on. So it's important to read carefully the instruction and to know what are the instructions of your journal. Okay. So the peer review process, it's not an easy process. You go to, before the review, before the submitting, you have a great research and you wrote excellent paper. And then at the end of the review process, usually after 3 rounds of review, you look like this or even worse. And it's not easy, because when you submit your paper, you truly believe this is the best paper ever. Otherwise, you wouldn't submit it. But apparently not everybody thinks like this, and it's not an easy process. So let's see what we can do in order to look a little bit different from this way at the end of the review process when our paper is eventually published. So here, my first slide of tips. Okay. So first of all, look and read carefully previous papers. And also, when you submit to a certain journal, quote papers from this journal. Look at the aims and scope of the journal and fit the paper accordingly. It's not enough to be close to the aim and scope of the journal. It should be in the middle of the scope. It should be really explicitly the scope of the journal. Otherwise, it will be desk reject. It will not go to review, okay? Then read carefully the instructions for the author and format your article according to the standards. If it should be 6,000 words, don't submit even 6,001 words, okay? If the titles should be like this, do it exactly like the instruction. If they use a certain way of references, APA or ACS or something, use exactly the references that they use. Check for spelling and grammar, because when someone review a text that has a lot of spelling mistakes and some very bad English, the level of appreciation is immediately decreasing. Even if you write the best research, probably will not be accepted. So if English is not your first language, if English is your second language, like mine, send your manuscript to editing, English editing before you submit, not after you accept, you are being accepted, before you submit. And also ask a colleague to read it, to comment, because an external eye sees things that you are not able to see. So this is a to-do, but also what not to do. Don't forget that the title is really important. Don't leave it to the end when you are tired. Think about it. This is the first gate to your paper. If the title is not good, maybe even the editor will not want to see the paper. But if your paper is published and the title is not good, nobody will want to read the paper. So why to put all the effort? Don't write the abstract very, very fast. It's really, after the title, people read the abstract. If the abstract is not representing your paper and is not interesting, nobody will go into the paper. Okay, it's really important. Pay attention to the submission guidelines and don't dismiss them. Don't ignore the bibliography at the end. So don't write it with a lot of mistakes. Imagine that you are a reviewer and you see your paper written at the end of the paper with a lot of mistakes. Immediately, you have bad feelings for this author. You don't want it to happen to your paper. When you use acronyms, explain them. If you need to give copyrights, don't forget it. If you submit and there are attachments, give the attachment and give the last draft of your paper. Inbal can share with you that many times people submit the paper and she opens it and she see change tracks and red lines and comments in the so this is not the way to handle your submission. Okay, so tips on good abstract. This is how not to do it, okay? Don't take it. Yes,
Can I
Inbal.
just say something about choosing the journal?
Just a second, choosing the
okay.
journal, it will come.
Okay.
Okay. It's don't do a spoiler.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So here, I took from a PhD comics. I don't know if you're familiar with this Instagram, but don't do it like this. Don't take a general or generic abstract and fill in the, your specific words for your research. Sit and write the abstract of your research, okay? This is not a good way to do it, okay? So several tips about how to write good abstracts. Look at the instructions of the journal regarding the length of the word limit and really take the maximum words that you can use and describe your research. Don't write general things like the results will be discussed and compared to the research. No, write what are the results and give some ideas about the comparison to the research. Write okay? So it's really, really important to stick to the word limit, to summarize the results, the finding, the implication. So what is the contribution of your research? You did the research and you found this and this. What is the contribution, okay? Compared to the knowledge that is already known. Okay. Pay attention to try to include as much as you can in the abstract to reflect the paper and to be self-contained. Don't use okay, I will explain differently. Self-contained means that in a lot of places, only the abstract is published. In all kinds of search agencies, things like this. So the abstract should stand alone and explain the research and the paper. try to include, in the journal, you can include, I think, 3 or 4 keywords, but the search agent also go through the abstracts. So use keywords in the abstracts, because then you increase the visibility of your research, the discoverability of the research. And don't use the abbreviations or footnotes or reference, because this is not the place to do it. Okay. So we're still in the beginning of the paper. And by the way, the title and the abstract, these are the 2 things that you write at the last of the process. When you finish to write your manuscript, then you write the abstract and the title, because you have the full picture of the paper. So the abstract, as I said, this is the most visible part of the paper. Don't give a too long title, but give an informative title, and also try to be interactive. Now there is, for example, a fashion in science education that the title starts with a quote from the teacher or from the student. So I don't know, and then write the topic. So it's now a fashion, but try to be specific, to contain words that authors might search for, okay? Describe the research, but still remain short, okay? Again, don't use jargon. Don't write the name of the protein that you do the modification on it specifically. Write it in the abstract. In the title, try to give a wider perspective of the paper. Otherwise, only the 3 other researchers in the world that study the same protein will look at your paper, okay? So don't be so specific in the title. For example, if you do a research in science education in Ukraine, if you write the name of your country in the title, probably only people from your country will stop and really read the paper. And this really reduces the impact of the paper. So even if the paper is about learning chemistry in Ukraine, don't write it write the subject of the research in the abstract, describe the specific context. Okay, because you don't want to get less attention. Inbal, do you want to talk about this slide?
Okay, these are technical but very important aspects of writing the manuscript, because these things are being checked before the manuscript goes to peer review. But if these are not fully performed, then you can spend a very long time back and forth with the editorial team or assistants, and it's a shame to lose all this time. Usually, most journals now require an ethics statement for research performed on humans or on animals. So you should include the ethics statement in your manuscript. If the journal requires double-blind peer review, then the anonymized version should not contain the author's name or institute or anything else that might indicate them. You should take care not to, when you quote other papers, even your own papers, do not use the same words, because similarity check is performed, and if the similarity is too high, then it's unethical due to copyright, and you would have to change it anyway later.
This is called the plagiarism? And there are programs that do it and check for us to see the level of similarity. So even if it's your own paper and it's the same method, don't copy paste from a previous paper. Write it again, different words, okay?
Okay, this is also a matter of ethics. All contributing authors should be noted, should be credited in the manuscript, because it's a matter of ethics. You cannot disregard some of the authors. Okay, this is, I'm not sure. Okay, in IDSC, it's the author details. We check that they are the same in the full version of the manuscript and in the system.
In fact, this is important because there is a phenomena that people steal identity and they write
Okay.
names of people that are famous, and actually they create a profile in the journal. So in this way, it's a way to avoid it.
Can I add something regarding the names?
Yes, of course.
Also, it's very important to have your profile, written in one way. So, for example, I have done this mistake, Kostas. I had at the beginning my name with C, Konstantinos, Kostas with Kilo. All these versions of Kostas, or Konstantinos it was written under my name. So this is reducing the references of your work or the acknowledgement of your work by the others, in different names. You split the citations of your work. So try when you write your name to be consistent. Write your name in the same way as you have been registered in the different platforms, like Scopus, mainly Scopus, I would say, or in Google Scholar, or in other kind of platforms that your work has been included. This regarding names. Thank you.
It's really important.
Okay.
And also now we have this ORCID. It's a number that identifies each researcher. So from the first publication, create your own ORCID and use it. And then it doesn't matter if you write Costas with C or K, but but I guess you didn't have ORCID at the beginning, Costas also.
Yeah, correct. This OID you mean, no?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, then I create it and then I merge everything, But
Okay.
I think that, you need to be, in order also to be searchable, because people
Yes,
sometimes they search by the name and not your
yes.
OID, I think.
Yes, and also for women or men that after they married, they change their surname. It's also something to consider how to reflect it in your scientific publishing name. So think about it in advance. Okay, in balance.
Okay. I think the other issues are technical issues, but just read carefully the instructions for authors and follow them. Do not exceed the word limit or use the correct reference style and the correct format.
Mhm.
This is for IGSC, but and also use editable files because the editing team at the end, when your manuscript gets accepted, they need to work on they need to edit. They need to work on the files. So you need to use editable files, not PDF.
Thank you, Inbal. And what Inbal didn't say that she receives these files of the manuscript. And then she sees there is no ethics statement and that it's too lengthy. So she unsubmits the manuscript and she writes to the author, there is no ethics statement and the reference style is not correct. And few days, the authors look at it and fix the manuscript, but they don't fix everything. And they submit. And again, it is checked through all the process. And it can delay the process of your manuscripts being sent to review by a long time. and you can avoid it by just following the instructions for authors, the guides for authors. Okay. Ethics. Inbal mentioned ethics in what she said, and it's really important. And I want to ask you, ethics is really important. It's in different stages of publishing. And I want to ask you and to ask you to write in the chat, what do you think? This is a multi-choice question. So we hear that submission process is very long. It sometimes takes more than half a year from the moment you submit to being accept or reject or something, okay? So I want to ask, can we allow this reviewer? No, okay, I'm sorry. So is it okay to submit the manuscript to more than one journal at the same time? A, yes, because it takes a lot of time and I really need the publication. B, it's not allowed in any circumstances. So, okay, so write your answers. B, B, A, B, 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 B. Very good audience, because it's not allowed in any circumstances. And you also sign on it when you submit your manuscript. So even if it takes a lot of time, you should wait this time. And you cannot submit to 2 journals at the same time. And believe me, it's not worth even to try, because eventually your manuscript will be sent to reviewers from the 2 journals. And there is a very high probability that it's the same reviewer will get it from the 2 different journals. And it means that the paper will be rejected without review. Okay, don't take the chance. Wait and play the game according to the rules. There are other things that are related to ethics. Of course, I will just say it very fast because it's really obvious. We don't want to publish false or misleading research. Plagiarism. Raymond, just a second, okay? Plagiarism, it means that you took things copied parts from different papers or presentations of others or of yours, and you just put it in your paper. It's not allowed, okay? If you work with human participants, you use ethical standards. There is a use of informed consent, and you don't misuse it. So you should, it's really common sense, all these things, okay? But it's really important to keep them. And I also believe that if you keep ethical regulation, the quality of the publication is higher, because you did it according to the rules and it is more trustable. Okay, so you wrote a paper, you did good research, you wrote good paper, and you followed all the ethical rules. And I want to ask you, why do we need the peer review? I'm sure that everybody who writes the paper really does their best, okay? Why should we send the paper to review? Why can we just publish it? As Costas wrote, to confirm the quality and the originality of our work. Okay, what else? Peer review for validation. Okay. Peer review helps increase scientific rigors. Thank you. Second opinion, no man is an island. No man is an island. Okay. So you really raised here some good points, because review process really helps to bring errors. Sometimes everybody can make mistake, okay? And reviewers are able to find them. And believe me, papers after review really the quality is better, okay? Even that the process is not so nice. Improve quality of the papers, critique for other from other research. So this is something of the community, get valuable comments to improve the, good, really good things that you wrote here. So the comments of the reviewers really helps make your paper suitable for the journal. And it also creates a discussion, because if a reviewer read something and they have some comments and you answer it, it's a discussion. And then it's a reciprocal process. You get comments from reviewers, and you also later on become reviewer and give comments to other authors and help them improve their own papers. And altogether, it improves the quality of published research paper. So even though it's a long process, it takes a lot of resources, of time, and mentally power. It really helps to improve the quality of research that is published. And on the other hand, you can read what this guy said. Okay, it's an opinion, and we should also remember it. Don't take it so personally. So let's see what is the process of the peer review. Okay, we start here. We submit here the paper. And then the editor, after all the pre-screening check by the editor assistant, like what Inbal described, the editor receives the manuscript. The editor reads the manuscript and decide who will be the best reviewer for the paper, according to previous work, according to papers that were cited in the paper, according to what she knows about the area. And she sends a paper to the reviewers. And the reviewers can make some decisions to accept the paper as it is, to accept it with minor revisions, to accept the paper with major revisions, or to reject it. And in each of the cases, the reviewer should explain their opinion. The editor read at least two reviewers' suggestions and reach into conclusion and send the conclusion with the feedback to the authors. And the authors have the chance to respond to the comments and to resubmit a revised version of the manuscript. Okay? If it is accepted, of course, okay, resubmission, again, it goes through a preliminary, shorter pre-screening check, and it goes back to the editor, again to the same reviewers. Remember that, we will go back to this point, okay? And they see, and they read the new paper together with explanations of all the changes that were made according to the comments. And also, if the author does not agree with one of the comments, they should explain. We didn't accept this comment because we think that and that. It's not obligatory to accept all the comments, but in any case, you should explain. So the authors explain and they resubmit the paper, and the reviewers read again all the things. And again, they can decide accept, minor revisions, major revisions, or reject. Again, back to the authors, and the cycles can go several times, 3 times even. Usually it goes at least 2 times until the final result of being accepted. And when the paper is accepted, it goes to a different department in the journal that is called the production and the department. And the authors only receive the manuscript to proofreading. Before it is published, it is called a proof. You have, usually 48 hours to read the paper in the design of the journal and to see if there are small mistakes, something, maybe the headers, maybe something is wrong. You do the corrections, and then your paper is published. And you are very happy. Okay, I did it. I forgot that I have these pins here. Okay. So we go back to the comment that Inbal wanted to say, choosing the right journal, because it's a key component. And we remember that the journal is not a magazine article. It's not a chapter of your PhD also. It's something else. And I have a question for you. Again, go to the chat. Please answer from your experience if you wrote a paper, okay, already. When you wrote your paper, do you write it, the paper for a specific journal, or do you write the paper and then look for suitable journal? B, A. Okay, so first of all, very nice. We have here something that is not usually. Usually people write a paper and then look for a journal. And I want to really convince you now that this is not the right way to do it. The right way is to choose the journal and then to write the paper. Monica, I write a paper and then adjust them when, okay. So let's say I want to explain why I really recommend you to be the minority and to choose the journal before you write a paper. Because to publish a paper in a journal is actually to become part of the journal society. Who are the journal society? Authors who already published in this journal. And when you try to be accepted to a society, what do? You go to the people, you go to parties, you discuss with the people, you get to know them, okay? And this is the same way that should be done in a journal. You go to the journal, you read the papers, you see what are the topics in the journal, not only from the aims of scope, but also from the latest papers that were published. So you become part of the society of the journal, and then you will write the paper according to the journal atmosphere, way of talking, highlights of importance, okay? So it's really not trivial, but this is what we recommend, and we really see the difference between papers like this and papers like that. So how to be familiar? Because if we want to be part of a society, we really go to the parties and we meet the people, but how to become part of the journal community? So go to the university library, talk to the librarian, read papers, talk to peers who published in this journal. Start to do your social network. And then slowly recognize what is the right journal for you, because even if a journal is really, really highly ranked, maybe this is not the journal for your paper, because they're not interested enough in this topic. Maybe the journal that you look for is a little bit less Q1, but really relevant to the research. If you are not sure, write an email to the editor or to one of the editorial board and ask them. So try to get to be part of the journal, way of doing research and writing about the research. For example, I looked at the statistics in our journal, in the International Journal of Science Education, and I saw that in our journal, the highest cited journal is our journal, okay? And this is reasonable, because if this is part of the society, this is part of this research, it is reasonable that people will actually contextualize their study in the journal previous research, okay? So this is today, it's the third, it is Q1 journal, but it's number 3 in science education research. But even if it's, and number 1 is Journal of Research in Science Teaching, but you can see that Journal of Science Research in Science Teaching is only number 4 in citation in our journal. So it is really reasonable to do it in order to have higher chance to get accepted. So why does it matter, citation metrics, and what are they? In general, citation metrics are used to measure the quality of journals. By who? By librarians, for promotion, okay? They check which journals did you publish. When you submit a proposal for grant, they look at your publication. Like when Costas introduced me, he said some ranking of my citation. I'm not, part of this party because, okay, Costas, from where did you take the number that you?
From Scopus.
Okay, so
these are the main criteria for you to become a professor. I mean, how can you be outside of the game since this is the main criteria of your promotion? So you reject your promotion? How the people they are going to comment and evaluate your? I'm against it.
This is why it's important. So
Yeah.
luckily, I'm full professor and I don't care anymore. But in previous stages, maybe I should care. But I think, but when you publish when you do what you love and you publish in the right journals that are suitable for your research, it will better promote you than publishing in Q1 journal. This is my opinion, but
So Ron, can I comment on this?
yes.
I mean, when you ask us, why we should publish, there were many reasons stated by the participants. One of the reasons that it was the quality, and the quality is not judged by me or you regarding my publication or your publication, it's judged by the citations that you are going to receive. And the citations, I mean, sometimes it's technical. I mean, you can receive technically, you can use some tips, but also, reflects the quality of your work because people they cite your work, and this impacts, the journal because the impact factor of the journal comes as a reference of how many citations in average after 5 years the journal receives. So
Yes.
I think that it's a part of the game, but it has the good face and the bad face. I'm favored of the good face.
Yes, but I want to comment on this because if you do research in a niche area, so you will never be you will never get a lot of citations because there are not a lot of researchers in this area. It doesn't mean that you don't do quality research, but you should be aware of your institution requirements. This is something. If in your institution they require Q1, try to publish in Q1. What can I say?
But then you need to compare. You're not comparing a biologist with a researcher in teaching science. You need to compare people from the same region in order to have a relative comparison of what is happening. So this is my approach.
Yes, it's tricky. Okay, but I don't want to stay here. So we know all the tips, or how to write, and what to pay attention, but what to do if people submit their papers and they wake up, they have nightmares at night. Maybe they will be rejected. So what can we do when we are rejected or when we get negative reviews? How can we handle this? And this is part of the game. So first of all, try to in advance do everything that you can in order to minimize mistakes. Give your paper to friends for comments. If you submit to a journal, read the time it takes in this journal. Because if you need a publication very, very fast and you submit to a journal with 2 issues a year, it means that you will not get the first response after 4 months even. So try to choose very carefully your journal, and then you get the reviewer's comments. And first of all, don't take them personally. It's not for you, it's for the paper, okay? And maybe it is a little bit not soft because this is a reviewer style. Don't try to overinterpret the reviewer's comment. Try to read them very, very technically and to understand what they mean. And use even if you are rejected, take the reviewer's comment and use them to learn how to improve your manuscript, to take them as a constructive comments, okay? And take them and try to make the benefit of them, okay? And also remember that when you revise the paper and resubmit, often the same reviewer will get the paper. So when you respond to the comments, be very polite, okay? Don't say, this is a stupid comment, I will not address it. Explain, I will not address this comment because it contradicts my theoretical framework, or in this case, you can debate, but be very respectable. Yeah, here it is, be very respectable. Okay, so here I listed 10 most common reasons to be rejected. First one is out of scope. In BAL you can approve, yes. And this is really easy. When paper is out of scope, we reject it without review, okay? It's very fast usually, okay. Second reason, little contribution to the subject. Okay, it's a good research, very well designed, but it doesn't advance the knowledge so much. So maybe you can publish it in a very, regional, very small journal, but not in top journals. Number 3, when the paper is not contextualized in the context of the journal, or it is really at the side of the context, okay? Usually it will be desk reject again, okay? When the paper is not, it doesn't have a good theoretical framework, or is not contextualized in the literature, okay, lack of references. You see a paper with 10 references, without reading it, I can tell you it will be desk reject, okay? But we do read, okay? When the paper is poorly styled, not according to the instruction, the grammar is horrible, the English is a lot of mistakes, it's really difficult to understand. Even if it is sent to reviewers, usually they will reject it because they will not understand, and they will not take, all the times that is needed in order to try to understand this poorly phrases paper. They will reject it. When it's sloppy proofed, when it's, I never saw unethical and rude paper, but of course, we don't want to see things like this. When there is a written style and the author doesn't follow it. When it's not a true academic article, you did a survey or a report or something and you submit it. It's so easy to see it. It's not or when you do an evaluation study, it's not a research, it's something, a report. And why it's not research? Because it doesn't contribute to the general knowledge. It's contribute to your own specific report or country that you did. But if it's not contextualized and you don't work a lot in order to take the report and turn it into a research, it will not be published. And also when it's too long or too short, okay? So what to do if your paper is rejected? What to do? So first of all, my advice, don't do anything for several days. Just calm down, okay? And never send the editor an email and ask him, oh, my excellent paper, how could you reject it? You will never, if you get an answer, it will be no. Usually you will never, even will not get answer, okay? But what can you do? After you are cooled down, calm down, take the reviewer's comment and change your manuscript and submit it to a different journal. But if you submit it to a different journal, remember that you should take care and again contextualize the paper to the different journal. Read papers in the journal. try to socialize with the journal style and the society. Maybe it will, you will need to change the way you contextualize the study. But if you won't do it, it will be really easy to feel it. When we get papers that were rejected from other papers, journals, and people don't do the effort to adjust it to our journal, it is so easy to see. And I can tell you that personally, I want to reject them on the spot. But Inbal is more nice, and she said, no, we will write them, contextualize the paper in the journal, and so we give them another chance. And if you are asked to make major revisions and resubmit, you can decide, do you want to do these major revisions and resubmit, or to choose a different journal? So this is a decision that you can make. It's usually, I think that it's better to try again at the same journal, but it depends on the comments that you get, okay? And also remember the things that looks really horrible now when you are with the manuscript and you are in the PhD time and everything is horrible, but remember that in 4 years, 5 years, everything will look much better, okay? So we are deep in problems now, things will be better. So take things in proportions, okay? And here I took it also from the PhD comics, how not to answer to reviewer comment. For example, the method is clearly wrong. Okay, don't write, yes, I know, but we thought we could still get a paper out of it, sorry. No, write, the reviewer raises interesting concerns. However, it's the focus of the work, so really respect the comments and try to answer it as much as you can and to make the revisions as much as you can. Okay. If you are working on your first papers, the first one, second one, and you don't have enough confidence, what can you do? For example, you can work together with other people. Write someone that you respect from the field and said, I'm working on my paper and this is very close to your research. Maybe you can read and comment, and maybe you can join me as an author. So try to learn from more experienced people. It's not decreasing the importance of your paper if you add a colleague to your paper. Make sure that to take a language editor, especially if English is not your first language, okay? Why not? Pay the money and do it. Make sure to situate your research in the literature of science education or your field in order to explicitly show what is the contribution of your research. If you want to learn, volunteer to be a reviewer, because in this process you learn a lot. When you review others' paper, you learn a lot. Follow the directions for the authors very, very carefully, as we heard. And, think about the story of your research and then tell it to people who really doesn't know your research. You're really familiar with everything, but think about the reader. You write it for others. So help them to understand your research. This is, I think, the most important tip message from this talk. When you write, think about the reader that is not familiar with your research, okay? Okay, now you are published. You can send your paper to your colleagues. You can post them in the Facebook, in X, in Instagram. Write about it, share it. If you are able to pay, consider open access. You increase the visibility of your paper. Even people that don't have, access to the journal can read it. And here you can see the score of your paper, how many people saw it, how many people tweeted, and so on. And you can In this way, you can learn about the impact of your paper. And also in most of the journals, there is a support team that can help the authors if they have questions before they submit or during the submitting, use this support team. And here there is a paper, how do I get my article published in this journal anyway, that was written by Norm Lederman, who passed away last year, but he was a very good researcher in science education, and you can read the paper and see what you can learn from it. So I open it, I will stop share, and I open it to your questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ron, for this detailed and presentation. I have some questions, but I will give the floor first to the student. Maya, thank you very much. You can start.
Hi, Ron.
Hi, Maya.
First of all, thank you very much. It was very, very interesting. And I wanted to ask you about special issues. Do you think that there are any advantages to submitting to special issues? If I'm talking about a journal that I know that fits for my article and they have an open call for a special issue. So like, do I need to do the extra effort to kind of edit it so it would be more related to the special issue topic? What do you think?
Okay, this is a very good question, Maya. And I can tell you that papers in special issues, they get more attention. Why? Because in one issue, there are papers at the same topic. So if, for example, I'm studying a certain protein or a certain educational pedagogy or something, and all the issue is about this, so I will read all the papers about this issue. And it means that even if I didn't look for the paper of Maya, I will bump into this paper because it's in the special issue. So, and this is one advantage. Another advantage is that they have deadline. And when we get deadline, we write faster because I must submit until the end of January to the special issue. And it really pushes the authors to submit and to write. Maybe you would submit it in August if you didn't have the deadline. But deadlines really pushes us forward. Another thing is that usually the guest editors of special issues are expert in the field of your topic. So they will get to know you. And this is a way to be part of the community who are focused in the subject of your research. So I think it has more advantages than disadvantages. I really like special issue as an author. As an editor, I don't like them because it's a lot of headache, but I can tell you that as a researcher, I like them. Also, special issues are helpful for young researchers. They want to learn something about PCK or something, so they look at the special issues. It's really a good way to be familiar with the issue, okay?
Thank you, Maya. Can I ask something on this? I'd like to support also review papers, of course, review papers with your perception, with your vision in the area that you review also are, I think a very nice tool to review an area or to sum up your work in an area and provide a vision for the young researchers or for people that would like to follow you. I mean, just, what is your comment on this, Ron? Because I placed this a question, what is your approach regarding review papers and when do you engage your mature researcher or your young researchers in order to write a review paper?
Okay. So my answer is divided into two parts, before AI, Gen AI, and after Gen AI. So before the age of Gen AI, review papers are, like you said, really important tool to get to know a field. You read them, you read the trends in this certain field, and you start to navigate in the field. But now with Gen AI tools, it's really easy to generate review papers, and most of them the quality is very low. because they just review in order to have a good review, you need someone that is really expert in the field, because this someone can critique the trends that they find and suggest future directions and find the limitations of the research. But usually most of the review that we get are really poor, and we even don't send them to review. And now in Gen AI, everybody can do. I can do review in 2 minutes for myself. I don't need to read a review paper. There are very good tools to review research literature now. So why to bother? When I do the review, it will be updated to this minute, not to half a year ago when the review was written. So use the tools in your library, do your own reviews now. This is my opinion.
Yeah, but if you provide exactly, this is my perception. When you write a review, you need to provide the perspective also, the future, the future development. You should have a sense of what are you writing. Otherwise, it's not a good review. I agree.
Yes,
It's like a report. And
yes,
and as you mentioned, journals are not for reporting
yes,
things.
yes.
All right. We have a question, I think, from Nalugo, from Africa, I think is this colleague, student. What is your view on number of authors, low as 2 and as many as 35? Of course.
I didn't. Can you say again?
So, how do you treat, a paper with that the authors are 2, and how do you treat a paper with authors more than 10? He mentioned 35.
How do I
No, I think
treat?
that the journal has specific policies regarding the number of authors.
Okay. So it depends, of course, on the field, because there are fields that you have a lot of authors. I don't have a vision about this aspect, but I think it's important to check that there are not ghost authoring. Ghost authoring is writing names of people who are not involved in the research, just to increase their own rank or something. So try to be ethical. If someone is written on the paper, it means that this someone contributed something to the paper. There are fields that you have a lot of authors in biology, and there are several. Astronomy, yes.
However, the journals, they request, beyond the number of the authors, a detailed description by the correspondent author what has done by any one of them.
Yes,
so you need to write a report. It's not like this,
Yes.
These are rules depending on the journal.
Yes.
On top, of course, regarding the topic, but I think that more than 5, they start to ask for a report, what has been done by each one of them.
Okay.
At least this is, what I know.
So Lara asked about, you can't submit your article to more than one journal, only when you wrote your article under protocol of specific journal, or you can't submit to any journal. Okay. Every research, every paper could be submitted at the same time to one journal. If it is not accepted, you can change and submit it to a different journal, but it's not ethically to submit the same research to 2 journals at the same time. This is what I meant. And another thing, if something was published, you cannot rewrite it and submit it in a different journal. This is also, it is called a windmill or something. I don't remember the term, but if you publish something, publish it once, okay? And another thing, don't take your research and cut it into small pieces and publish every small pieces in a different. It's not a good way to in the community. You will not be appreciated.
Thank you, Noron. I would like to add something regarding, the journals and the citations. Here there is a contradiction. First of all, you should not self-cite it yourself. This is not ethical. So only if you are the innovator on something. Do not overdone it, because this does not count. all the journals, they have a filters that, you can go to the Scopus, extract the self-citations, and then you have the real impact of your work. Now the question is like, who are you going to cite? Ron, during her presentation, mentioned a very good tip. In order to be a member of a club, in order to be more familiar with your area, probably you publish your work through a specific journal. And one way to do this and to be accepted, you cite work from this journal. However, this is for me, it's like self-citation. I agree with this. I have used this. I have used this tip. But I will say my main criteria, what kind of citations I'm going to include. First of all, the innovators. And second, the people of the most recent work. Because a publication, what is a publication? You have a line. Here is not known, and here is what is known. And what are you doing? You are pushing with your publication this borderline between known and not known. So you need always to cite the first innovators, and also, the people that you are helping to promote, to boost this line, the most recent work.
Contemporary research.
Yes, exactly.
I agree with you.
Yes.
I want to clarify something. When I show that people cite from the same journal, I showed it to show that it means that this journal publishes relevant literature.
Yeah, correct.
And not because of self-citation.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you. Yes.
This is one comment. You mentioned something very nice, because I had a question about the AI-assisted tool in writing papers. I
Okay.
would say, if you don't use your critical thinking or whatever you are doing, this is a review or it's your original work, then it's easy, for the people, because everyone is using AI tools now. So
Yeah.
know the style of the AI tools. So as a reviewer, you can spot it very easily, what is happening. So do not overdone it. I
Yes.
will say that AI tools are very good in order to have an idea, and then to work as an influencer, to say like, probably, I have done this, or this is a direction that I can follow. This is my opinion, and I would like to ask you something on this. In the conclusions and discussions, which is depends, of course, on the journal, but it's a very important chapter and, part of your publication. Sometimes myself, I would like to, when I'm writing, I would like to write all my ideas, for the future work. We can do this. But we have the competition. And sometimes people, they say, of course, I do not say everything. So what is your opinion? What is your approach? How do you appreciate, as a reviewer or as an editor? What do you think? Or as a supervisor? Your student, your research, in the discussion, which is very important, the discussion. Because it's important for two things, in my opinion. First of all, shows the quality and the potential of your work. That your field has a lot of things to do, so it's not a dead field. All right? But at the same time, due to the competition, do you reveal everything? I mean, as a supervisor, what is your opinion? As an editor, what is your opinion?
Okay. So first of all, in the discussion, you should be able to explicitly show what is the contribution of the current.
Yes.
Okay. So future direction, usually I suggest to write things that we already started to do. Okay. And things that we don't want to do, but we think it's important. So I will not reveal things that I want to do and I didn't start to work on. Okay.
All right. We can debate about this, but later on in another session. So another question that I have. If there is any other question in
I
the
think
chat.
so. Suppose I have done several studies in the same field where I could not have got information that helped me to build on.
There is a question on the top of this. There is another question on the top. Some manuscripts are accepted easily because of the locations of the corresponding authors, or it's institutionally mailed. Why?
I hope it's not the situation, okay?
Yeah, this is exactly.
And I think that if the location is not an English-speaking country, people should take professional help with the English in order to cross this barrier. It's a pity not to be published because of language, okay?
Or, of the affiliations. Because sometimes, you mentioned this at the beginning, sometimes they are using, high-cited authors in order, to
Yes.
increase and
Yes.
overcome the barriers,
Yes.
and also to get a citation. And
Suppose I have done several studies in the same field where I could not. Okay. So you didn't publish everything, and now you want to publish an advanced work, but you cannot cite yourself because you didn't publish. So my only advice is to publish your previous work also. What can I say? Sit and write.
And I have one more question. I think that if we don't have anything else, we can close. For you, what is more important, the number of publications or the number of citations?
None of them.
None of them. So do not publish.
No, I publish from different reasons. I publish in order
But for a
to
young researcher, what do you suggest?
I publish in order to move the field forward and to collaborate with others.
Your
And
citations.
for young research, I recommend another publication.
All right, it's a balance. So you propose a balance.
Because this is your product, okay, publication. This is the citation is the reaction to your product, but first have products, okay? This is how I look at it.
And another question that I'm discussing with the students, regarding this thing, and I'm finishing here, is like when someone should publish. A lot of people, they are waiting in order to have the best results, more experimented, more experiment. What is your advice when someone should publish?
This is an open debate. I recommend my PhD student to publish during their PhD. Even if after 1 year, they could have published a better paper. So publish another one, but don't postpone. Don't wait until perfection is the biggest enemy of researchers, because it's really holds you back, because it's never perfect, never. Nothing is never perfect, okay? And I really like not to be perfect. This is my ideology, not to be perfect.
I will say if you are going to become a perfect, you don't need research because you are perfect, no?
Yes.
All right. So even in physics, you cannot define, absolutely values. You have the
Yes.
uncertainty principle.
You
Anyhow,
can make mistakes, even if you publish something and then
I
it's
totally
wrong.
agree with you. I think that you should balance. You should, if you have something innovative and you can really back up and you push this line, publish.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I have one more question, but I'm not going to ask it. I will leave it open for the next debate. It's like I would like to thank you very much, Ron. I would like to thank very much the participants for your participation and today. And we are going to
So just let me thank Inbal for her presence.
Inval. Yes, of
Inbal
course.
Salmon Chai for her help now, and also all the days and all the nights when she helps me, and all of you that listened and participated in the chat and everything, and to you, Kostas. I hope we will.
To you participants. I'm doing my work. So anyhow, good night, stay safe, and we are going to speak next week with another research skills, topic. Thank you, and stay safe. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.